Hi, I'm really happy to be here and thanks for joining us today. And during the next hour, we will concentrate on the user part of the diagram mentioned by James. And a few words about me. I'm heading the product design at Cyclum, and since 2007 I have been succeeding, a bit of failing, succeeding again in various fields at user experience agencies, product companies and technology companies like Cyclum. And apart from that, I'm really interested in psychology and understanding how the human mind works. And also I dance Lindy Hop. It's quite a fun dance to a swing jazz music of 30s. And today my talk is product design, not just about making it look nice. And you know what? After 12 years in the field, I'm getting a bit tired of explaining what is the design thinking, what is the product design. But I'm keep doing it over and over again, because I really want the companies to stop creating poor services, poor products that makes the lives of their customers even more complicated and get them frustrated. So that's why today I would like to ask you to treat this hour not as a lecture, but rather to spend time and reflecting on your business and how to become more user-centric, more user-friendly, and more customer-centric in your processes and your products and your organization. As a first, also I would like to ask you to note down the questions, so we will have some kind of a dialogue during Q&A session afterwards. Would be really keen to hear your questions. And as a beginning, I would like to ask you to think for a moment right now, what is the most important thing you would like to learn about the product design today? Maybe you have some questions already, so you could concentrate on that as well. All right. And what we will focus on today. First, we will briefly go through what is the product design in general and how it differs from user interface design. Then we will refresh in our minds what could be the product problems that the product companies could face. And after that, I will walk you through the process and principles of the product design and what value can it bring to the businesses. And after that, we will talk and think about what can you actually do in your organization to implement the product design techniques and mindsets and tools that might be helpful for you individually. And before jumping to the question and to the definition of what is the product design, let's think for a moment about the products or some product or service that looks really nice at the beginning, but in the end something went wrong and you got really dissatisfied with the end result that you got. Did you have, can you remember such kind of experiences, products that you had? Personally, I do. So I would like to share with you my story. It's about the websites of airlines. And recently we've got the product discovery on the client side with the workshops, and we were about to coming back home after that trip. And we decided to go to airline's website to check in as a team. So when we opened the website looked really nice, really modern, with the nice looking fonts and smooth animation and really professional pictures. So everything went really well, looked really well. And when we opened the check-in details, we saw that our seats, defaultly chosen by the company, were at the tail of the plane, and it was not really convenient for us. Why? Because we had really short connection time, so we thought of how about changing the seats so we are closer to the exit. So we opened the seating plan, and on this plan we saw that actually there are available seats on the beginning of the plane next to the exit, and we decided to change it. They looked they looked available, and they looked like no extra cost needed for this change. And so we changed it. And to our surprise, in the last step of this check-in, we saw that we actually had to pay the extra cost, 30 euros per person for that. I mean, it's not really a big money, but we were we didn't expect this to happen. It was not really pleasant to know. We would expect to see something like this, clear indication that there is some cost for the change of seats, right? And so we decided, actually it wasn't in our plans, we decided to cancel our change and go back to the old seats, that's it. But to our even bigger surprise, there was no ability on the website to cancel this, and no ability to go back and to the previous step, so like we were trapped. And at the end, we end up that we had to pay in the airport this extra cost, and that's it, come back home without 30 euros per person in our pocket. And so at the end, I spent extra money, I spent time, and I felt a bit stupid because I was initiator of this changing of seats in front of my colleagues. And I decided that I will never use this website again, and not really the website, but the airline services. So someone did a really bad job in designing the website and overall experience, like the overall system experience. And someone did think of some fonts or animations or nice looking, but he or she didn't think of me as a person, with what needs do I have and what frustrations can I encounter, yeah? And this someone could look like this, yeah? Not willing to design to solve user problems, but rather designing to impress some fancy dribble design website. And this leads us, or actually, yeah, the second option would be that this person just used the so-called black UX pattern and just wanted to trick us and in a short term get the 30 euro extra, that's it. But in the long term, he actually, the company actually lost me as a customer forever. So it leads us to the point that product design is not just about making it look nice. It's not just about UI design. And of course, the look and feel is really important for the part of the product design. But still, it's not only about the style, about the fonts, about animations, about the branding. Yeah, there should be something more. So what should the product designers do to make it actually work nice? First of all, the product designer has to understand the business context, dive into the business processes and business goals, understand this part, understand the market, and also, of course, understand the user. For whom is he creating this website or this service? Yeah, what are the needs of these people and possible pains? Then there should be right problem to find, and right problem. By this I mean the inner problem and not just the symptom of the problem. After that, of course, they are creating the proper solution for this problem. And what is really important, to test and measure how it actually works in reality with your real users to make sure our assumptions were correct. And also, the last but not least, think of the entire system and the long-term impact on the customer, which didn't happen in my case with the airlines example. And also, the product designer is not the person who just implements, takes the user stories from the backlog and silently implements it in the perfect screens. It doesn't happen this way. So, what about the companies who do actually implement the product design and design thinking in the right way? According to the Design Management Institute data, the design-centric companies gained a significant stock market advantage over the last 10 years. And actually outperforming the S&P list from S&P list companies, as you can see from the graph twice. And on this graph, the yellow ones are these design-centric companies that are focusing on the end user experience and applying the design thinking in all their processes and all their products. By the way, who is aware of the design thinking concept here? Yeah, great. Yeah, very good. I will go through the concept and how it works in the product design just in several slides. And also before that, we will talk about the product difficulties. What difficulties can the products face and with which the product design can help as well to avoid. So first of all, according to several sources, 7 from 10 new products fail each year. Could you imagine that? It means that 7 from 10 new products actually were ignored by the customers. And what could be the top reasons for that? There could be, as stated also in the research, no market need found, Other companies got outcompeted by the competitors. The next business model appeared to be not valuable at all. User-friendly product, and sometimes founders just couldn't admit they were wrong and changed their decisions in the right time. What's next? Apart from that, in typical IT product, from 50 to 70 features are not actually used at all, or used really rarely. But the budget for the development and maintenance of these features gets wasted, gets spent. What also exists is that IT products, sometimes some products are being developed for too long, and at the end, when we got the release date, it's already outdated, the situation in the market changed, and it should be changed, the product should be changed drastically even before the release, And to think of those, like mentioned 3 difficulties, I mean, isn't it a nonsense to spend so much effort, so much money, so much like energy on that, and to get such results? It must be really frustrating for the company owners and for the companies. And so what we reached the point, how exactly product design can help to avoid those possible difficulties and to get more successful. At first, let's start from the objectives which the products, the companies can have, and with which design can help to achieve those objectives. At first, stay competitive. Everyone wants to stay competitive and get the competitive advantage. And the product design can help with that, and also to create those brand differentiator. Then faster time to market. Again, all of us, like all of the companies, wants to get to release faster to the market. Then new market segments. Find and succeed in new market segments, such as country, channels. For example, some people can have some companies would like to get more digital, right? Streamline processes, next one. Remove the wasteful, redundant processes, and get your team more motivated, more energized, and some companies might have such objectives as well. Minimize risk of failure by failing fast and succeeding faster. And quite direct objective to the product design to improve the overall customer experience, and by this increasing the conversion rate. So what actually methodology helps the product designers to help the companies to achieve such objectives and get successful? And here we come back to the design thinking mentioned earlier. So what is the design thinking? I think a lot of you also know that design thinking is the method for practical resolution of the problem, any problem actually, and it creates innovations. And product design thinking is a foundation to any design process, not only digital ones. And how is it structured? Did anyone see this double diamond scheme before? So in general, let's go step by step. In general, it consists of 3 bigger stages. Like first, we have to understand what we are building. We have to get the insights of that. Then we create and brainstorm the ideas, the alternative options to the solutions. What could be the solutions? And then we implement the best one and see how it actually works in reality. And to have a more deeper dive in these stages, first it's the empathy, and if there is just the beginning of the process of the product, and if the designer is a new person who is not really collaborating, who didn't collaborating with the team before, it's a really good start to have the team getting more collaborative and aligned. And by what? So empathy means that we are like sponges, and we grab and gather all the knowledge about the business, about the market, and about the users through the ethnographical research, user research, through interviews, through analyzing the market researches and reports and so on. And just to grab as much knowledge as we can in some limited amount of time that we can afford. And as you can see, wide like diamond, yeah, as you can see this orange triangle, it gets wider in the end. So it means that we have the divergent thinking. So we are not limiting ourselves, we just grab all the information as much as we can and empathize. And then when we got all this information, we have to like sit together again as a team and think what is actually the most important that we should concentrate on, yeah? We cannot solve all the problems, we cannot satisfy all the audience, like all the people. So we had to concentrate what is our audience that we are focusing on and what could be the problem that we should concentrate on as well. And in this, during this stage, it's really important stage for the alignment and synchronization of the team and to be able to work together effectively afterwards. And then it comes the ideation, and here where we become those like thinkers and creators and innovators, and we just brainstorm the ideas, what could be the alternative options that can solve like the defined problem. And so we are just together as well, it becomes the divergent thinking. We start to produce all these ideas and keeping focus on the innovations and unlimiting our minds. And after that, we as a team also agree what is the idea that we commonly believe will work the best. And then we go to prototyping stage. Here we do the prototype of the solution. It could be either paper prototype, it could be wireframes clickable without code, it could be coded prototype, so anything that fits your product and can be tested eventually. And after that, those hypotheses should be tested. And so we are actually going to the real users, also to investors, to partners, and testing our assumptions, whether we were right. And it's better to test it earlier than later, yeah. And what is also important to note that prototype is actually the phase which the designers are the most famous, known at. So a lot of people think that designer just takes the requirements and he prototypes it, yeah. Just sits and immediately begins to create some screens in Sketch or in Photoshop. But as you can see, it doesn't happen like that. So we have to do a lot of work before to actually sit and prototype very quickly if we have everything in our mind as well, if we have the solution in our mind, which is really focused on the users and on the business goals as well during those prior stages. So that's the concept of and process of the design thinking, and also that's why designers keep asking all those tons of annoying sometimes questions. Yeah? That's because we are here. And in our team at Cyclum, we came up to such 3 principles that helps us to remain truly product designers. And not just making nice looking screens and move pixels. Here are the principles: for constant focus on people for whom we are creating the solution, then getting lean, and co-create. So let's go one by one. Focus on people. We all understand that running business is quite hard, and there are a lot of things that we should focus on, especially on the business side. And sometimes it's really easy to lose the focus on the customer. And from time to time, we've got such requests from the companies. Companies come to us and with a bunch of requirements already nicely written and brainstormed in the cozy meeting rooms. And they tell us, like, here are the requirements, implement it, build us the solution. And one of the first questions that we ask in such situations is, what are these requirements actually based on? I mean, did you do any user research? Did you ask your users what they need actually? Did you understand your users and what they actually really need? And a lot of companies say no, we didn't. It's just our beliefs. And here is actually the red flag for us that something can go really wrong in the future, and that we have to go back and do some discovery and research to make sure that we will not end up in the list of the companies that failed at the end because of no market need and not user-friendly product. And so yeah, that's why focus on people is so important. And let me share with you the story from a real case, which like when we focused on people and which impact did it bring to the product afterwards. So the company, our client, they produced the indoor plant growing system, and there is also the application that helps to manage the lights, the water, also giving some tips on the growing plants and see some updates, progress of your plant. And so kind of a Tamagotchi, but for the planting. So they came to us and asked to improve the overall look and feel and the design, because they have just the not finished wireframes at the time, and also adding some new features before the release, like up to like before a few months before the release. So it didn't sound as a big challenge from the beginning, and we started from the empathy, from first step of the design thinking, and started from our discovery. We had to really understand a lot of things, like who are those people, why they're using this, like why do they really grow those things, like planting, why they spend their time, what is the motivation of those people. Then we also have to understand the business side of it, the business processes and the goals which the business expect to get after this application and after those using those devices. And also, of course, we had to study technical limitations and like the device itself to understand, to make sure that we are building something which is feasible as well. So after those studies and after the interviews with the clients and after the testing of the wireframes with the potential users, we got some valuable insights that I would like to share with you. So what were the insights? First, we realized that our audience is busy working millennials. They have no expertise whatsoever in plants growing at all, and they got really frustrated while assembling the device. It can be quite hard for them. Also, they can't wait too long to get started. They want to start right away, and they are too busy, and they just want to start growing the plants. So we had to take this into account. And also during the definition stage, we asked ourselves, how might we provide an easy device setup to make people start enjoying the plants growing as soon as possible? That was one of the key focuses when we designed it. And also during the definition stage, we mapped the overall experience. How we did it? We created the personas, which were based on the insights made from the interviews and from the testing. And the personas showed the archetype of the user. Who is aware of the personas? Maybe someone use it. Okay, yeah, quite a trendy and popular thing. Also, the customer journey map, the step-by-step journey that this person goes from the beginning, like when he understands realizes their need, to the very end of the product life cycle. And this helped us to stay focused on our users during the next phases. What's next? We got to the ideation stage, and we also started to ideate what should be those guiding setup look like and work like. And what we decided at this ideation phase, we decided to switch from the paper instructions that were already in the company, from paper instructions of setup to digital instructions within the application to make it more smooth. What else? We decided to make it really small and simple steps. There were actually 15 steps that we couldn't avoid because of technical specific limitations at the time, but we decided to make it really small and clear and really straightforward. And we also decided to get it illustrated. And what's even more, we've got the animated illustrations on each step that also to be able to make it really, really clear and make it even more engaging, because at the end, after the testing, we saw that people don't feel that they are passing the steps, because it was quite engaging and easy looking as well. So that's how we can see on the screen that how the final prototype looked like, and the finalized visual design as well. So the steps and animations and the updated look and feel. And what was the results of that? First, we've got the smooth, fluid interface with the constant focus on the users. Then we've got our client that was more sure that he is on the right track after the testing of these updated wireframes, which sometimes is quite calming to admit before the release. And high interest and satisfaction of the customers. And those are the quotes that we got during the testing. And when getting such kind of feedback from the users, it's really good also for the product designer to realize that he did their piece of job well. Yeah, quite well. And so focus on people. What could be the actions that you can do to become more focused on the people if you haven't done it before? First of all, there are like a piece of advice to go and talk to the voice of your customer in your organization. There could be some people who directly speak to the customers and know about them the most from your organization. It could be the sales people, it could be the customer call center support. And you can get, if you haven't talked to them, just go and do that, and you got really cheap and very valuable insights on your customers. Then interview the customers or observe them in their natural environment as well. And for example, during the interviews, you can ask, usually we ask the stories, like there are questions like, tell me the story of how, for example, you growing your favorite plants in your room, yeah, from which point you are starting, what the challenges that you faced, something like that. And also, which is really important to notice, that is not an easy task to do, those interviews, because you have to be really skilled in that, and you can really easy make those interviews just not working. So for example, you should avoid the bias and some asking the leading questions like, do you like our new app? Yeah, do you like our new features? They're so good, yeah. So you have to avoid such things and to express your own opinions, so you have to really listen. And yeah, so you should take into account that. What's next? Personas, which I already mentioned. So the archetype of your customer that represents the segments of your customer with different behavioral patterns which behave differently. And usually it has some social demography information, some goals, fears of this person. So it also keeps you focused on the person within the team. And sometimes developers got really interested in such personas. So customer journey map, also mentioned before, the visual representation of the step-by-step interaction of the customer that you have with your product or service right from the beginning, when he just realizes the need, and till the end of your product, until the end of their engagement with your product. And at Cyclone, we normally use such kind of a template for this. Like you can see, there are phases that the customer takes during the journey. There are customer goals on each phase. There are customer actions, more detailed, which he does during this phase. There are channels, like for example, website or application or email or call customer support. You also outline it. Then some thoughts that customer may have during those phases, and emotional journey. Like in some phases, he or she can get more excited and cheered up, and in some cases he might fear, for example, of losing money and something like that. So you have to keep this also in focus. And while you filling in all those information, you end up with some insights, so that you can also note it. For your application of new insight of the feature, or new feature or new element on the website that can actually help achieving the goals during each phase. And how can it look like in reality? Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you saw already how they can look like. So there should be some explanation of the persona and some short, brief scenario and expectations of the persona, just to keep also focused. There are phases, there are some customer actions, thoughts, emotions, and some insights, opportunities as well. It can look like more simple one. It may look more detailed and with more described details. It can also look more visual, just like there could be different approaches to that, whether works best for your specific team, because some people get more comfortable while more visual, I would say, people. So it may work better such, for example, format. And also, which is really important to also understand, that this is not the one, like once like you come up with this customer journey and you laminated it, put in the wall, and just forget about it. Yeah, no, that we all understand that it doesn't happen this way. We have to constantly update it when we got some new pieces of information. So what's next? The value proposition. Also, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of this value proposition canvas. It is quite a good tool for outlining what is the customer jobs. Yeah, with this customer jobs section, which are the jobs that actually your customers have to be done, and at the end, these customers will hire your product or service to do for them those jobs. Then you outline the pains or frustrations that the customer have, the gains, some benefits, the outcomes that the customer would like to achieve by doing those jobs, and also, like on the left side of this canvas, you outline the pain relievers that can treat your pains and relieve those pains and frustrations of your customer, and the gain creators that can maximize some expected outcomes and gains for the customer, or even surprise them with unexpected ones. And at the end, you come up with the list of products, services, features for your new website, that is for your new product or service that are actually focused on also on the right part, on the customer. So that's just several advice what you can do to become more customer focused. What can you actually use in a practical way? And what is the easiest? If you haven't done it, just go and talk to the voice of your customer. It's quite easy and a lot of insights to take. Surprisingly, some companies do not have this information, and we get those information during the workshops when we actually invite those people and the customer from the call center and support, like interestingly. All right, so the next principle, getting lean. And we all remember, the design thinking process, and the fifth and the final step of this process as this iteration is what step? Test, yeah, that's right, test, thank you. So test. So let's think, is it actually the end of the designer's work to come up with a prototype, to test it, to finalize it, and just pass to developers? Not really, yeah. The website is never done. And here comes the concept of the lean UX, and the key point in this concept is iterations. And you have to, as a team, work iteratively and start from thinking what you are going to build based on those research information that you already have. Yeah, then you make it, prototyped this idea, you check it with your assumptions with the users, and then you decide whether you have to go a next iterative circle. And what is the value of that? One of the key values, is that it makes the results, the processes faster, and you got more motivated and more not so nervous team that gets actually the feedback every time. And it's really important for us as humans to receive the feedback and check whether we are right. And also worth noting that about the designers, that actually the designer is not the artist. Yeah, he or she doesn't lock themselves in some room, and they do not wait for some inspiration to come, and at the end of the month they just give you the final website that you asked for. No, like it doesn't work this way. The designer is also part of the team, and he also has to do their own iterations and check their assumptions together with the team and with the users, right? And also at Cyclone, we are making sure that these lean concepts are not ending with the discovery. They are also applying during the delivery and during the whole product life cycle. So we constantly check it. And to make it work, for example, quite often thing to do is to during the once per sprint or twice or once per two sprint, we've got some blocked day when you invite your customers and you interview them, or you give do the usability testing and actually test with them your ideas, your prototype, and you got those feedback, and you then decide together with the team whether what should be implemented afterwards and what is not. And to make it all happen, we also need to make sure that we design like 2 or 3 sprints ahead. And why we are doing that? Not like to end up this way, yeah? Me trying to stay ahead of developers in 2-week sprint. And I'm sure that every designer felt such things like at least once in their life. And yeah, to sum up, the product design is really a continuous process, and it's an iterative process. And starting from the discovery, while learning and making sure that we are building the right thing, then we build the thing, and then situation can change. Yeah, we all understand market can change, your users' needs can change, and we have to constantly improve and monitor and improve our product. And that's also by this getting lean as well. So getting lean, what can you actually do as actions to get more lean? If you haven't done the usability testings, do that. Test with your iterations, your solutions, your prototypes, your existing website with the real users regularly, not just once. And by testing, I don't mean the user acceptance testing of which developers or quality assurance guys are doing. It's completely different testing. So as you can see also on the screen, that it should be made one by one with the person and actually see what the person does and not what they tell they do. And also we sometimes I feel and I see that managers and just business people, they're quite afraid of, not afraid, but rather like they don't know how it is made, and they think that it's not the right time for me to test. Like it takes a long time, or it's quite expensive. But if at the end there are different methods how to do that, and in the end it brings much more value than it takes time. So for example, first thing you can do is to make a live user testing session when you have the moderator and when you have the user, and when you have in front of the user, for example, some prototype or your existing live website. And so the moderator just passes the tasks, the already scripted task as a test task to the person, and just silently watches how he accomplishes this task and gets really a lot of insights. Also, it can be done remotely, yeah, by any kind of software like Zoom or Skype or any other. And also you can, with the moderator, also you can make it not moderated. There could be for some particular cases it works really well by using such services as usertesting.com or userzoom. And what is also quite useful to do is to share the results of any user research or any like usability testing, yeah, in this case, with not just with designers but with all the team. And even it's also very useful sometimes to invite the CEO of your company to actually see how their users actually use their product. The next point is treat everything as assumptions. Quite obvious thing to do is just to cultivate in your team constantly this mindset. Then monitor measurements. Again, quite obvious thing to do. A lot of companies do that. Constantly checking the data, statistics of your launched product, and follow the methodology. It just works. Yeah, and sometimes we know, like we learn a lot of things and we know a lot of things, but for some reason, for some like a lot of disruptions in our life, a lot of things going on with our life, and we don't actually do some actions, but we know about it. And what is the easiest thing to do? If you haven't done it before, just test it with your end users. You will get a lot of insights, a lot of useful insights, and less time for decisions, internal decisions, because the user actually the one who is paying you and who is the main decision maker for you. Yeah, bless you. So the third principle is co-creation. And getting lean is quite good. It's quite important. But if it won't work well without a really essential component. So what is this component? It's the collaboration between the teams. Yeah, how closer the collaboration is, how effective the collaboration is, and product design also helps to become your teams more collaborative by running some co-creative activities. What could be such activities? I will share with you in one story of recent on-site discovery with one of our clients. And what was the situation? The client came to us with the really rough idea. They needed some kind of solution to monitor the warehouse goods. It should have been the internal solution for the internal employees to make sure that the goods are to monitor the amount of the goods is relevant, and they also wanted to make sure that that we should minimize the mistakes, the amount of mistakes done by employees, save time of employees, and increase the productivity. What was also important? What was also the situation? They were not aware of the design thinking, not really agile at all. As well, and they had also quite a heavy organization structure and long processes of approvals and decision making and so on. And also they were not really aligned as a team of the current state of things and what they would like to do at the end. And what we started to do is the series of the workshops and the interviews with the employees, so the workshops with the business side, and the interviews with the existing employees of the warehouses. And we also mapped the customer jobs, the customer journey, and value proposition. We also ideated the solution afterwards and tested the solution with those warehouse workers at the end. And what was the result of such collaboration? We've got a really improved collaboration, not only with us as a partner, and with the business side, but also within the business organization between the employees and between the business people, and alignment on what was actually our goal and where we are heading. Also, we got quick agreements on decisions. Why? Because all were in the room presented, and there was no need to explain once again to the person all the things that we decided and the background. So everyone were aligned and very quick decisions were made. Also, we've got the solution that was tested earlier before the development, and quite a data-driven solution, not just the assumptions-driven. And we've got the satisfying feeling of the client that he is on the right track, because the tests actually showed that the idea that we chosen was working. So co-creation, what can you do actually to become more co-creative and collaborative as a team? Basically, one piece of advice here: to do the workshops on every stage of your processes. You can do the product personas. Proto means the personas based on your assumptions, when you don't have any information at all about your customers, if there could be such situations. Personas as well, based on your research. Customer journey mapping as well, together with the team. Value proposition mapping. Crazy 8, it's the technique for the ideations when you, for example, you got the 5 people in the room, they have one sheet of paper, they cut it, not cut it, but fold it in 8 sections, and you got 8 minutes to come up with some alternative solutions for the alternatives for the solution that you were going to build. And so at the end, during the at the end of the 8 minutes, you got some 40 slightly or really different ideas for the solution. So that's what you can do actually within your team to get more co-creative and more collaborative. And as a summary, product design is really something more than just making it look nice. And by focusing on people, by getting lean processes in place, by co-creation, product design can really help businesses to succeed and to achieve the goals that the businesses have. And also, you might also see such a diagram before, when you've got the combination of those approaches within the product lifecycle of the continuous discovery and continuous delivery. James and my colleagues James and Yuri will also touch this point in their speeches. So where is the product design here? Design thinking at the beginning, emphasize, define the product, define what we are going to focus on, ideation, come up with the prototype and do the experiments and lean feedback loop, and also then passing to the delivery. And also, it's not very linear, you can also do those iterations whenever you have the need to. And of course, there is no silver bullet, and in each case, some tool or some method can work. In some cases and with some teams it may not work. But you can try just from tomorrow if you haven't done it before. Just talk to the voice of your customer, test with the real users regularly, workshops, collaborative workshops with your team, and co-creation as a basis of your work with the team. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me or my colleagues at Cyclum. And as for what we actually do, it's the 2 main things that we do at Cyclum. It's product discovery, when we create your product concept, when we focus this concept is focused on the business goals and the customer needs and on the research background, and in cross-functional teams, and we early validate those concepts to make sure that we are building the right thing. And product design delivery, it's when we've got to the iterative design and delivery of your product after we defined and discovered all our business part, users' needs, and so on. And then we go to the design delivery, which is integrated in the your agile delivery process. And that's all from my side, and I will be happy to answer your questions.